Hello and welcome back to another week on the Self Ruled podcast. I am your host, Hannah Holden, and we are on episode 34. And I got to apologize. I know I've missed a few weeks. I don't know exactly how many I've missed this year. I can count them on one hand, but I want to say I've missed maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm sorry about that. I am going to make my greatest attempt to finish this year strong and not miss another week. So I am recommitting to that. We are here on the Self Ruled podcast, and this week I want to talk about the reality that success is not a straight line. And you know this, I know this, but sometimes we just need that reminder that even though we may know where we want to go, we may be clear on our vision, our goals, it's not always going to be a straight line to get there. And in my own life, there have been so many times that I have made what felt like steps back. I have made lateral moves. And sometimes, that can be really hard to swallow when we feel like we've done so much work to get where we are. And then life happens and we feel like we have to take a step back or move in a different direction. But that's life. And sometimes the very thing that is so hard to do, which is often to accept these moves or accept these shakeups and move in a new direction. Sometimes the thing that's really hard to do, to release, to surrender, to accept a loss. I don't even know if I want to call it a loss, but accept a redirection. It can be really hard to do. But sometimes that is the very thing that we need to get to our next level. And so it's really about just humbling ourselves and being open and accepting and humbling ourselves and humbling our ego, that when we sense that the winds are changing in life, maybe you're in a job and you don't want to change jobs, or you're in a business and you don't want to have to get a job again, or you're in a relationship and it's toxic or unhealthy and it's no longer working. Whatever the example is, when it comes into our awareness that the winds are changing, something's changing, we have this opportunity to either resist the change or flow with the change like water. And sometimes it can be hard to know what our role is. I mean, use the example of wind, or maybe the example of a current. Maybe for a while the current is going one way and you're swimming with it and it is smooth and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. But sometimes we get redirected. There's a dam or there's another stream, and we have the choice. We have the choice to either try to resist it, try to swim against it. But the truth is, and this is just from my own experience in life, is that sometimes the more we resist something, we just end up exhausting ourselves, and we may not see what's on the other side of just letting go sometimes and going with the flow. But this is very intuitive to how do we spot that difference? I think this is such an intuitive and personal thing, because to outsiders, when we surrender to the current and where life is trying to take us. To outsiders, it might look like we've given up. Maybe we've given up on our marriage, we've given up on our dream, given up on our business, whatever. And it might look like we're failing or we gave up. But the reality is nobody knows what's going on in your life but you. And nobody is qualified to make those decisions but you. And so this is why success is not a straight line. Only you know your internal map, your internal compass, what your vision for your life is, and whether or not you can let go and trust the process and trust that wherever that stream is trying to take you, maybe it's just trying to take you a mile downstream, and then you're going to get out of the water and you're now on the right, the right path that you need for the next level of your vision. So, okay, we're getting kind of abstract here, but something I wanted to share, something that really impacted me in the last week or two. There is someone I've been following on Instagram, and a fitness influencer, and she just has a pure heart. She shares her fitness journey from being, depressed and obese and, struggling with her weight, to finding weightlifting. And everything she posts is so uplifting and so inspirational. I've been following her for probably about a year. She's young. She's in her 20s. I don't know how old you are, but she's younger than me. She's in her 20s. But I get a lot of inspiration just from how positive as she is and how much she loves life and just her newfound confidence through weightlifting, being strong. But recently, I saw her post an authentic post about moving in with her parents. Like, so she's in a relationship. I don't know if she's married or not, but she's in a relationship and they have a young daughter. And she posted about how she had to move back in with her mom, her and her daughter, and that her partner doesn't live with them, but that he comes over all the time and he's a very active father and whatnot. So why am I telling you this? Because I felt like she was being so authentic and transparent that the couple had fallen on hard times and made this decision that was best for their family. And the awful thing is that there were people commenting just the ugliest things, like super judgmental, making all of these assumptions about her relationship, their life. And it was just like, I was stunned. It's like, wow, you could be a leader one moment and then the next moment you expose what's going on in your life or you show your cards, and there are sometimes people waiting to tear you down or make you feel bad. And of course I had to comment on her reel or her post or whatever it was and just, offer some appreciation, because the reality is that nobody knows what's going on in her life but her. And this is true for all of us. Nobody knows what's going on in our lives, what's going on in our relationships, our finances, our hearts, and why we make the decisions we make. And so this is why I think it's so important to be self-ruled, to really be clear on your definition of success, your vision for your life, what is going to bring you peace, prosperity, fulfillment, etc., and run your own race. Because obviously the people commenting and being such haters are people who are miserable with themselves, people who are low vibration. They're just waiting to see someone, a star fall. They're just waiting to see someone who's this bright, bright light have a rough moment so that they can turn on her. And that's about them. And I know that. But I just started really thinking about how, this is so common, but people don't show it. People in position of visibility, power, influence, they don't always show like the hard moments in life where we have a failure. I think in her case, it was like her partner hadn't been paid, was owed a bunch of money for work that he did, so they got behind. And the reality is, like, people don't know what's going on in your life. We all have things going on in our life. Like, you probably know this, but just anybody you interact with, anybody you walk around in the world with, they could have the biggest smile on their face. They could be doing something kind for you, and little do you know what kind of burdens that they are carrying, whether it be illness, finances, heartbreaks, just the things that they are carrying. But a lot of times people in position of influence, they don't want to show the weakness. They don't want to show these moments in life where we have to take a step back, or we have to, maybe let go of something for a while. And a lot of times it's about letting go, because something like moving back in with your parents, or giving up temporarily, on a dream, or taking a job, or just all the things that come up in life, ending a relationship, that's just something that comes with life. And to try to pretend like those things don't happen, I think that's what causes the harm, because then all we see is this like very successful side of people, but we don't see all of the things that they had to go through and that they may be going through right now just to be that light in the world, or to be fulfilling their purpose. And I've gone through so many of these in my life. And so that's why I want to normalize it, because I'm sure you are too. I'm sure that there are things that you are going through. And if you're not in a season of going through it right now, like, you will have your season. It just comes with life. But what I want to tell you is that if you are going through a time where you feel like you're having to take a step backwards, or you're going backwards in life, it's only backwards in life if that's the narrative you're telling yourself. It's more about honoring your vision, honoring your goals, and being able to create a positive narrative around why you decided to do what you did. Because we have to make decisions all the time. We have to make hard decisions. I've made some hard decisions lately in my own life. We have to make hard decisions, and at the end of the day, we're the ones that has to live with them, nobody else. We have to live with the decisions we've made. And I think I was talking with a friend recently, but I think for me, when I make a decision, it's done. Like, I don't try to waver or go back and worry or wonder if I made the right decision or not. When I make it, it's done. Because once you make a decision, then new paths open up, and there will always be new places to go, new pathways, new routes. It's almost like a GPS where once you make a turn, the GPS just reroutes. You know, how many times, I think this just happened to me the other day. I missed my turn. Okay, I missed my turn, and automatically GPS is rerouting me to make sure I get to my destination. So when you have a vision for your life and you know that and you carry that in your heart and you show up for it and you honor it energetically, it doesn't matter if you have to make a turn that feels like it's going in the wrong direction temporarily. As long as within you, you know your destination, you know who you are, you know what you want for yourself, what you value, all of those things, that will just become a detour. And in fact, that detour will be the most perfect route to get to where you're going. And we don't always see that in the moment because it feels like we're giving something up. I think about this young creator who, had to move back in. I've been through that. I've been through that and many other things, but you feel like you're taking a step backwards. But little do you know that that is the most strategic move. And in light of this conversation, I was thinking about chess. Now, I am not a great chess player or anything, but during COVID, I'd always wanted to learn to play chess, so I learned. And I was thinking about that for this episode, like, okay, which pieces on the board can move in what directions? I don't know why that's where my head went, because I was thinking about how sometimes you got to move backward to move forward in life. A lot of times when I've felt like I'm taking a big step back or I'm really moving backward in life, all of a sudden I move back and I'm like catapulted into my next level of success. And so I was thinking about that, like playing chess. It's, a queen can move backwards, a king can move backwards. And sometimes that is the most strategic play on the board. But if you're paying attention to other people, worrying about what they think, how they're observing the moves that you make in life, and they see you taking this move backwards, and that's where you're focusing and placing your energy, then yeah, it won't be a strategic move because you're looking at your life through the lens of what other people think or what you think they think. But that is not what matters. What matters is, can you create a reality? And you can, through your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, and the story you tell yourself. But can you shape a reality where that move just became the most strategic thing you could do? Because in any circumstance, there will always be an opportunity to make it the darkest, gloomiest, worst thing that could have happened to you, or a way to see possibility in that new circumstance that was never there before. And that is how you can really alchemize or transmute difficult circumstances in life and use them to your competitive advantage. And that's, chess, that's a chess move. That's a strategic move. Sometimes we move backwards to slingshot forward. Sometimes we move sideways. Sometimes we pause. Sometimes we have to wait. I think about chess. Sometimes you watch these players, they just sit there. They don't move their piece for a while because sometimes they really got to think things through. But success, like I said, it's not a straight line. People who are judging the moves you make in your life, they are people who don't have enough going on in their own life. They are people who are not paying enough attention to their own board. They're not paying enough attention to their own life. But only you know internally what your vision is and whether or not you're honoring that. Not the audience, not the people who probably actually aren't paying attention to your life the way that you think that they are. But as long as you know internally what your vision is, what your values are, where the general direction you want to take your life, you know where you're going, then it won't matter. It won't matter if you have to pause, take a step back, move sideways, because you haven't given up on your truth. You haven't given up on your vision. And, just to go a little bit deeper, like other people might be judging it, but it might be because it might, by society's definition, be a step back. It might, by society's definition, be a downgrade. I think about times in my life where I gave up opportunities to make more money, or opportunities to be with that, like, quote unquote, perfect guy, because deep down, I knew it wasn't right for me, or deep down, I knew it wasn't what I wanted. And so you might be making decisions and you might feel free as a bird and your heart might be singing, and other people might be looking at you like, well, that's crazy. Why'd you do that? But that's not what matters. It just is about what you think, what you feel, and staying committed, staying honest, staying true to yourself. That's what it's really about. So, like I said, success is not a straight line, and life will always give us challenges, obstacles. I always love to quote Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle is the way, because in life there will be obstacles. And what if you see those obstacles as the way? That obstacle is coming into your life to create a new pathway towards what you want that wouldn't have existed if the obstacle wasn't formed. And so if you can begin to cultivate that kind of mindset, then success becomes a mindset, not a straight line. And I truly, thoroughly believe that success is a mindset, and it's a mindset that we can either choose or deny every day. There are days I wake up and I have a success mindset, and there are days I wake up and I do not, because I am not aligned with my vision. I am not in the right state of mind, a high energetic vibration, and that's okay. We have days like that. But success becomes a mindset, and it becomes a practice and a commitment to our truth and our vision, and honoring it no matter what it looks like to anyone outside of us. And it is how we master those turbulent times that really launches us and creates our ability to handle more in life, to be able to handle that next level of responsibility. Because the truth is, it doesn't change. It doesn't get easier. We just get stronger. We get stronger and we get the next level. And with the next level comes opportunity on an amazing level. Also, challenges equal to it. And so the opportunities get bigger, the challenges get bigger. And so we have to be able to take those challenges and those obstacles and grow and expand through them so that we can handle and be prepared and be trained for that level in life. So your challenges are preparation. And what a positive, amazing way to see the shitstorms that sometimes show up in our life and cause us to redirect. And, it's natural sometimes to have fear in those moments, to fear that we're failing, to fear that we're losing, that we're going backwards, all of that. But how long are you going to sit in that mindset before you take control of the narrative? Because the sooner you take control of the narrative and be positive and move like water, go with the flow, the sooner that challenge and that pain is going to dissipate. All right. I hope you enjoyed the episode this week. I am telling you that this is inspired by real life events. I'll just, full disclosure, I don't know how many people are listening to this, but this summer has been one of the most challenging seasons in my life in a while. It has been challenging, and it has had lots of twists and turns, lots of bumps in the road. And honestly, I'm still working through some of those. But if I hadn't cultivated this type of mindset years ago, honestly, I'd probably be in a ditch somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed this week, and I hope that you took something from this that can inspire you on your own journey. And I will see you next week. Bye.